Stop it. Ms. Zembo, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Kuzic?
Present.
Mr. Dees?
Here.
Mrs. Ferraro?
Here.
Mr. Heckman?
Here.
Mr. Locke?
Here.
Mr. McGee?
Here.
Ms. Fargo Heckman?
Here.
Mr. Warner?
Here.
And Mr. Rinsky?
Here.
All present.
Now don't jump at once. Approval of the minutes, do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
All right. You've got that? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, passes. Now we have courtesy of the floor, and we do have a few people here who have signed up. So let me just start by saying that you have 5 minutes, and I'll have my official iPhone timer so nobody can complain. And also I would caution counsel that if you engage in a discussion with them, you're eating into their time. So, you know, if it's something that's critical, I get it. All right, so the first one I have is if you would come up then and give your name. If there's a spelling, we'll ask for it. Kristen, is it Kutza? Come on up. Hi.
Actually, Kirsten Kutza.
Okay.
I'm an RN at Graysdale. I'm trying to continue from our conversation 2 weeks ago. We had some momentum here, I think. I have worked at Graysdale day shift for 8 years. When I started there as an RN, there was an RN in charge of every unit. We have 16 units. There was an RN in charge of every unit. There was also a fill-in for every unit for when those charge nurses had a day off. There was also 3 float RNs, which also filled in between. Currently, we have 11 RNs total for charge floors and 2 full-time floats. That leaves typically 7 to 11 floors open every day. With people having off, the regular days off. I myself now am a float, one of 2 floats, so I am one of the ones that covers the 6 to 11 floors. At 50 residents a floor, that's 300 residents that I am looking after. That is an absorbent amount of residents to oversee. It's very important that we have the adequate RN staff. It drastically impacts the care that our residents receive. Last week, we recently had 5 new admissions come in within 2 to 3 hours of each other. It typically takes 4 hours to do one admission, and the RN is the only one that is allowed to assess the residents upon admission. But it did spill over into middle shift, and middle shift as well only has 2 RNs. So we're working with 4 RNs doing 5 admissions, taking 4 hours each. When we have days like this, some of those residents and families could be waiting for an assessment for over an hour. That's conservative. This is possibly the biggest change in a family and a resident's life to come to Graysdale. They're scared, they're in pain, they're confused, and sad. It's our goal and it's our job to lessen that emotional toll that, you know, by providing as much care and personal attention as they need. But we're not able to do that. When we have days like this, families and residents should feel like they're coming to their home. And it's more like a warehouse because we're just processing them in as fast as we can because we just don't have enough staff. As mentioned in the last meetings about falls, they're obviously a huge safety concern, and it is the RN's job again to assess the residents to get them off of the floor when they fall. Again, covering 6 to 11 floors, if I'm on a floor 6 floors away from when something has happened and I'm tending to something else, replacing a catheter or changing an IV, hanging an IV bag, I can't get there. So that poor person is laying on the floor for as long as I can get there. I know that was brought up last time as well.
You have about a minute and a half.
Okay.
I just want to give you a
This is not the level of care I would want for my family, and I'm sure if you had a relative there, it's not the level of care you would want for your family either. Healthcare is a fast-growing field. Baby boomers are coming up into the geriatric age. We have to be competitive rate-wise with not just other nursing homes, but hospitals as well. Lehigh Valley, St. Luke's, you know, they're building like enormous additions to their hospital, and they're taking the RNs with their competitive pay. So if we want to get RNs here, quality, and keep them, we need to be competitive with them. It's in my opinion that we're super fortunate so far that nothing terrible has happened. I fear that it will someday, and the amount that you put out to get good quality RNs in that stay is going to be nothing compared to a lawsuit that, you know, if something terrible happens. I guess that's it. I care deeply about Graysdale and their residents. I just want to see it get back to, you know, what we used to have.
Just a quick question. So I know you addressed pay. Is there anything else to attract or keep or draw RNs in?
I mean, we do have good benefit package. We have, you know, pension. I do think that helps. But honestly, bottom line is the pay. We're not competitive with anyone. We're not even competitive with other nursing homes. So people come maybe briefly and they move on. So, and we, you know, we're filling our holes with agency people who come one day. They don't have any skin in the game. They're not vested in our residents, and that's not the kind of people. And plus, we're paying them like way more than we're getting paid. So that's not the kind of employees that we want there either. So, yeah.
Right.
Thank you.
That's fine. All right, thank you very much. All right, next I have, I think it's Valerie McCula. I think you were here last time. Yes. And if you would just state your name, as you know, 5 minutes.
Valerie McCula.
Yeah, you can. Mr. Dertinger will even help you if you have a problem with it.
Yeah, if I can reach it.
Part of his job description.
Okay. I am a resident of the County of Northampton, and I have been at Graysdale since 2001. Refresher. I just want to take a little time this evening to clarify some of the things from the last time we were here. This is my first time negotiating a contract, and it's really been eye-opening. I've never experienced anything like this. To me, it seemed like this was going to be easy, a no-brainer. We need more RNs. So what does the county want to do to keep the current RNs and hire more, fill the holes? At the beginning of the negotiations, we did come out with 3 different proposals at 3 separate times to try to improve and not only reward the current employees, but encourage more nurses to come to Graysdale and work there. It became obvious that that type of change in the pay scale would not be happening due to the predetermined pattern put out to all the county's union contract negotiations. It was already decided. So in an attempt to improve the RN staffing, we tried to look at things that didn't go against the pattern. And according to onesalary.com, the average pay for a long-term care staff nurse in Pennsylvania is $33 an hour. With that being said, the starting salary for an RN at Graysdale is $26.65. Now, in my 18 years of service of the residents of Graysdale, I have received, in addition to my base salary, a professional premium. The professional premium only happens on when you come to work. So on your vacation, you don't get it. On your sick time, you don't get it. You have to show up. During the week, we get $1.50. On the weekends, we get $5. Again, this has been the same premium since I started there in 2001. So the base rate for a Monday through Friday employee goes up to $28.15, well below what other RNs make in the state of Pennsylvania. On Saturday and Sunday, it's respectively $31.65. Now, it has been very difficult, next to impossible, to hire and retain any RNs at $28.15. In fact, it has been well over a year since a new RN has been hired, made it through the probationary period, and retained. We haven't had one new RN full-time in over a year. We have been able, though, to hire per diems. Per diems, they make $36 an hour. Granted, they don't get any of the benefits. But that's what we can get people to come in to work at $36 an hour. So our original proposal was to increase the professional premium by $3.50, which came back to us as no, with the county's proposal, counter-proposal to increase it 50 cents. That was in their final best last, which was rejected by the union members. So then there were some sidebar negotiations that I was only told about, I wasn't really involved, but the way it went back and forth, I was told to give what I considered an offer that could be that I could support, that I could go out and talk to the members and be like, this is what we're gonna do, this is how it's gonna work for us. So we
You have
asked
a
for
minute and a half
we
left.
asked for a 2-year contract, retro on everything back from January 1st, and a $2 increase to the professional premium Monday through Friday, and we agreed to their 50 cents increase for the weekend. So with this proposal, it would bring the starting salary of a Monday through Friday to $30.15. I feel that'll look a lot better on the signs than anything else to try to get RNs to come and look at Graysdale. You figure $30.15, we can get them in at 36. We have good benefits, we have another package, you know what I mean? Like, to me, that looked like something that would make us more competitive. That was rejected by Mr. McClure because the 2-year contract goes against the pattern. So when we dropped that part out, and we wanted just the retro and the $2 increase to the professional premium, that was again rejected, and now we were told we're back to square one, and we get to do the negotiation process again. I would just like to take a moment. Imagine you work at a place where you need 54 full-time employees. You only have 18. How does the work get done? I mean, if you needed 54 teachers to teach the children, but you only had 18, going to be really tough. Now, I understand that money doesn't always improve things, like was said in Human Services. But if more money is what is needed to bring in more RNs, then that's what other option does the county have?
Sorry, your time is up.
This could, just help with the exorbitant amount of money that we're already putting into the agencies.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Now we'll go to the next person on the list. Make sure I get this right. And that would be, is it Jana Mears? Did I butcher it? Oh, Jana, I'm sorry. Come on up.
Mr. Beckman, I'm actually Brooke, but can I speak before Jana? Is that acceptable to you?
Are you? Yeah, sure. I mean, okay.
Yes, sir. I'm
Are you on the list?
Yes, sir, I am.
Oh, then come up. Fine. Let's see where you were.
Hi, council members.
Oh.
I'm Brooke Kersner. Again, I am proud to be the mayor of Bangor Borough. I'm grateful for the time you spent here this afternoon speaking to Jana, and I'm also grateful that Lori and I will be meeting later to discuss this issue firsthand. I just wanted to let you know that behind me I have 6 other businesswomen in the area, also advisors and members in recovery in our community. They're all very concerned about the services in our community being cut potentially through funding. And I wanted to also let you know that one of the things that was not stressed about the meeting this afternoon is the services that are offered in the school system by Recovery Revolutions. Recovery Revolutions is the only counseling service provider for students that turn to their high school guidance counselors or their middle school guidance counselors and say, I think I have a problem with addiction. And when they do that, they're able to obtain services through Recovery Revolutions through Northampton County. And I think that's quite important to stress when we have family, these students might not be able to talk to their family, or their family might also be have addiction issues. So I think it's quite important to understand that Recovery Revolutions provides that support in our school systems. And lastly, I just wanted to mention something about what was said about Lanta. I myself have spoken to Lanta several times about the lack of transportation in the Slate Belt. We are a transportation desert up in the Slate Belt, unfortunately. So if you have any advice to give to me, I would be happy to listen to it in regards to getting Lanta to serve my community better. I have members in my community that I cannot get down into the Lehigh Valley economy, to contribute to the economy, I simply cannot get them down into the valley. So if you know of a way that I can speak to Lanta, that I can encourage them to offer better services into our community, I would be happy to listen. That would go in tandem with, if we cannot find an alternate solution to get recovery funding, Recovery Revolution, the funding they need to give services to the members in our community, of which 90% of them walk to Recovery Revolutions. If you, if we don't know of another way, if you can work with me, please, to find another way, I would really, really appreciate that. And lastly, I would encourage you to ask questions of Mrs. Morris. Please ask her questions and have her show you her proof of what she's talking about. The 6 other members of my community and Jana would not be here if this was not an issue. It is an issue, and please ask her for her supporting documentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mayor. All right, and then next we have Jana, if you would like to come up. And if you would repeat your name, I know you were, and then you have 5 minutes once you start.
Sure. Yes, I'm Jana.
Why don't you wait until we each get a copy? 'Cause
No worries.
You might reference.
Certainly.
We want to have that in front of us.
Just one.
Yeah.
If I have more copies, if you need
I
them.
think we'll be fine. It's just one single sheet,
Yeah.
both
that's it.
sides. And this isn't cutting into your time.
I understand.
All right, go ahead.
Okay. My name's Jana Morris. I'm the Executive Director of Recovery Revolution. I did speak here at the Human Services Committee. I'm basically requesting for a sit-down meet that I can share evidence of what it is that is the issue. If I'm not stating things clearly, this is not a contract issue. It is not a funding issue. It is a local access to treatment issue. I have over 8 emails that state that no new clients can come to access our care with county funds. I did hear it say here that if they couldn't get to us, that they would be able to, if they couldn't get to our treatment center, that they would be able to. I've had no indication of that. I have had clients that have not been allowed to come to our facility. I'm actually going to share 3 with you. One is a young father in Penargil. He came in. We did a level of care assessment for him. He needed to come 4 times a week for treatment. He does not have a legal vehicle. He works part-time in construction, doesn't have insurance. The county directed him to go to Easton or Bartonsville. He was scared. The county's telling him to do something. He does it. He went there, desperate for treatment, desperate to get services, and his grandmother couldn't get him there on a regular scheduled basis 4 times a week. A month later, his children and youth worker and him called out and said, "We can't do this. Can you help us?" He's in our treatment center, free, and we're trying to access other funding for him to get there because he couldn't. It took a whole month for him and this whole ordeal to get to treatment. The second case is an Easton school student. The mom's in a safe home, had to bring her 2 younger kids to a safe home, and he couldn't go. His address changed. He lost medical assistance. And then I asked for funding in the middle of working on the medical assistance thing. We were denied funding. We're seeing him for on our own again, because we want him to get treatment. He wants treatment. The last one is a grandmother who's on Medicare, who's addicted to opiate pain medication. The county, by this point, has sent multiple emails to me saying you cannot take new clients. We told her that she would be on that funding. They wanted her to travel to Easton or Bartonsville for treatment. She became tearful, and she stated there's no way. She's relying on her daughters to get to treatment. 3 times a week she's there. We're seeing her for free. We're a nonprofit. We can only take so many clients before it tips and ends what we're doing. Let's face it, if it's about money, this funding source doesn't even cover our costs. Our costs are about $95, $96 an hour. We get $81. So accepting this funding, people that are in for profit wouldn't be doing this anyway. So It is an access to treatment issue. Our clients that are on this funding, they don't have licenses. They don't have public transportation. We don't have public transportation, but they don't have transportation. They don't have resources. They don't know people with resources. So when you're saying 3 to 4 times a week and you go to Easton or Bartonsville, that creates a major issue. The other major issue is that there was funding there. When I requested it in December, there was funding there. And in the middle, before I got a no that we couldn't get more funding for this clientele, they opened up a brand new contract to Bartonsville in Monroe County, gave them the money that we could have used for the need that we were assessed. The advisory board was not told about this. I have the minutes to the advisory board that I can sit down with people and show you. They do talk about all the contracts were increased based on need. So there was funding there. There was ability to do that, but we aren't allowed access to the funding. Therefore, our clients can't get services, and that is the issue. This clientele is, like I'm saying, Medicare. Thank you very much. They're students, and they're veterans. They're individuals that can't, and if you put a barrier into someone's treatment, they're not going to go to somewhere else. They're just going to quit, or they're not going to be able to get there. So, this is the first time I'm hearing about that we might be able to get funding in July. None of this information. I think if we had a dialogue and we'd be able to actually show some of this stuff that I have, emails and things, it would be able to clear up some of this stuff. I've requested for meetings. I've gotten no responses for meetings. I just don't know which way to turn. And I don't want it to keep going into a contract issue when it's really a local access to treatment issue. That is the issue. I've given you a document that I'm not reading to you. Summary of issues here. These are some suggestions of maybe why we got some of our funding issues taken away, because I have spoken up loudly about people about the system being broken, about our clients being hurt, about our clients not liking the process that we have in Northampton County. And that got me on a bad way.
Sorry, your time is up.
That's
and you're right. We did hear, and we've heard. I know Mr. Dietz is representative from Slate, the District 4. Certainly, what you said was what we were told at the meeting, and what you're saying now apparently is a little different. I don't know. We'll just have to do more research. But,
and I'm willing to provide anything. I'm willing to meet. I would not spend 150 hours on this if it's a non-issue. I wouldn't bring people with me and ask people to support us. And I'm also not wanting to go to the media or any of these things. I didn't want to create chaos. I wanted resolutions, and I want resolutions for our clients.
All right, well, I have a list, but I do appreciate it. Thank you. We heard you, I think, loud and clear.
Thank you.
And we'll look into things. Next, I have Diane. Oh, this is going to be tough. Husky. I apologize in advance. I think that's wrong.
Pretty good.
Oh, I got close?
Yes, my name is Diane Hushke.
Hushke,
Good
okay.
evening, council members.
Thank you. You have 5 minutes.
I've known Jana for many, many years. She's one of the most ethical people. I look to her as a mentor for myself. The insurance she speaks of has benefited me 2 times. I've been through Recovery Revolution twice. And without that funding, I live in Penargil. It helped me tremendously. I've been sober for many years now, clean sober. I'm actually on the board of Recovery Revolution now. And I also am a businesswoman in Penargil. And I have a very close relationship with my clients. And I love what I do. And sometimes my clients come in and I notice that they're having a problem with alcohol, or they'll open up to me and say, my husband has a problem, or I have a sense of community with my involvement up there. And it seems like the northeastern part of Northampton it seems to be neglected to me in my eyes as a citizen. What Recovery Revolution has done for us is to begin to establish a sense of community in our area. I noticed that in the rooms of 12-step programs, people are more connected. If someone needs a ride, we give them a ride. We're establishing a nice community up there now. and we reach out to the newcomers that come. It thrives that community with the energy and the families and in a positive way. So I would hate to see anything, you know, we do fundraisers, but that's not dependable. I have great concern. I've seen RR grow, and it seems like, even though I live in Penargil, I feel like Bangor's my home. And because of the community, there's more 12-step meetings now in that area because of the need. And not having more people in recovery in our area is not good for the recovering addict or alcoholic, especially if they have to travel miles away to get treatment. And within those miles that they travel, they could come across some problems. It just doesn't make sense to me when people can walk. You know, people can get rides for the meetings that they're going to in the area. So, I hope you greatly consider this. I am a concerned citizen, a businesswoman, I'm on the board, I'm a registered nurse, I worked in DNA as a director of nursing, and I see what's going on and I'm very frustrated with it. So I'd appreciate any action.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. All right, next I have, and I'll correct me if I'm wrong, Heather Marzigliano. Okay. Did I? Yeah, you know, I sit next to this guy, so it helps.
Hello, I'm Heather Marzigliano. I own a business in Bangor. I own a space and a business in Easton. I am on the Chamber of Commerce for the Slate Belt. I'm a mother. I'm a friend of Jana's. And more importantly on this issue, I am a sister who lost a 25-year-old brother to the opioid addiction. A day, an hour, a minute after they ask for help is too long. I've been able to help with Bloom, and I take girls in and let them work in my shop because they need all of us. Every last mother, father, business owner, councilman, mayor, they need us to fight for them because they don't have a voice anymore. And as long as they are breathing, they have a chance. And I just don't want to see, for lack of a better term, a pissing contest make someone not have that chance to breathe. I mean, it really comes down to that. My brother was 25 years old. That's too young. That's kind of all I got, so thanks.
Thank you very much, and sorry for your loss, but thank you. Thank you. And next, I believe I have Carol Anderson.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Carol Anderson. I'm a resident of Upper Mount Bethel Township, and I am the executive director of Bloom, and we are a 2-year residential recovery program for survivors of sex trafficking, prostitution, trauma, and addiction. All of the women that have come through our doors since we first opened in early 2016 have received treatment at Recovery Revolution, and that's one of the requirements, is that they maintain consistency in treatment at Recovery Revolution. Women come directly off the streets, they come from prison, and they come from treatment centers. Some of them, however, just as Heather, and I will echo what she said, decide that they want to come for treatment and are coming in off the streets after years of not taking care of themselves, without insurance, and the only way that they will receive treatment is if county funding is their option. And to echo again what Heather said, to say no to that and not to allow them access to treatment would be a failure of a system that was meant to protect and help someone in need. When we require someone who has no access to transportation at all, there is no public transportation in the Slate Belt that will get you to Monroe County. It would take you hours to get to Easton from the Slate Belt because you would have to go all the way through Wind Gap. It again creates a barrier that many people will just give up. And it's hard enough to admit that you have a problem with drugs or alcohol. For you to have another barrier of getting to a treatment center when you can walk down the street and it's there, for someone to tell you that you have to travel to Bartonsville or Easton would just be ridiculous. We've had 33 women come through our doors. We accept no federal or state funding. It hasn't cost you, the taxpayer, a dime for someone to live in our residential program, but yet it costs you probably anywhere between $60,000 and $100,000 a year to keep a woman in prison, and she's not receiving addiction services or any trauma-informed care to get her started. Plus, she's not working, so she's not repaying her fine or even contributing to society in a positive way. Women who come to Bloom start working by their 3rd month. Many of them are making minimum wage, and if they have to get car service to take them up to Bartonsville because they have a DUI and don't have their license, they're not going to be able to afford it. They're making minimum wage. It's very, very hard for them to overcome that employment barrier. Heather is an employer. She's given women a job. There is a lot going on in our community to help people start over, and I'm here to speak on behalf of Recovery Revolution, the excellent treatment that they get from their counselors, the support that I get as a person running a nonprofit who is trying to give an opportunity for women to start over and get back to work and rebuild their life rather than sit in prison or, worse yet, be denied access to treatment and they overdose and die. We lost more people in 2017 to addiction than we lost in the entire Vietnam War. I know you've heard that before. 2018 was worse. I think the number was 75,000 lives were lost to overdose in the United States. This is horrific. It's a problem that has systemic shame associated with it, and yet Recovery Revolution and the services that they provide are giving people hope. Denying treatment to them and asking them to travel distances takes away that hope. And we're trying without, just like Jana said, they are giving treatment to people, but we won't be able to do it for a whole lot longer. I won't be able to provide services. People won't be able to come into our doors. We have 8 beds. I said we've worked with 33 women since we opened our door. We're not going to be able to provide services to them if they're not able to access treatment. I thank you for listening today, and I think we can all, as citizens, do the right thing. We can figure this out. We can listen. We can be willing to provide more funding and access to treatment because it's the right thing to do. And to remove those barriers is really up to you. You can help us do that. And that's what we're here to tonight, to come behind Jana to say that this is our community. We want to make it a better place. They're trying to make it a better place. We're all doing our part, and now we're asking you to do yours. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I have, should I get this? Patricia Baranowski. Yes, sir. Yeah. Thank you. If you just come up, you have 5 minutes.
Good evening, council members. This is the first time I've ever done anything like this. I'm a little nervous. I have a little bit of notes.
Don't worry about it.
A 41-year resident of Northampton County. I have been in the drug and alcohol field for, this year will be 30 years. So yes, I'm very old. I'm actually here first because of personal reasons. I have lost probably more than 10 family members to this horrible disease, many of them under 28 years old. That is, one is far too many. One of those members actually sought county funding and could not get that funding. Now, this was not through recovery. This was many, many years ago, so it had nothing to do with this. But because of that, I have this extra passion, this extra piece for me that says one person is far, far too many, far too many. If we're not part of the solution, we're part of the problem. If we know that there is a barrier that is right in front of us and we are not trying to eliminate it, we're not doing our jobs. And if we're actually putting a barrier there, we need to really rethink what we're doing. And that's my stance on it. The other piece that I'm here for is Jana. I've known Jana for a very long time, prior to even having any affiliation with employment. Jana is one of the most passionate, ethical individuals that I have ever met, has started this program from the ground up, saying there's a need here, what can I do to help? And that's where she started it 15 years ago. She's actually receiving an award this year. Pennsylvania Certification Board gives a Certified Professional of the Year award every year. And this year, that's Jana Morris. And if you look at any of the readings, they'll tell you when that comes out the next couple of weeks, you will see why. She goes above and beyond She pays for clients when they have no funding. No one walks away from that facility because they can't pay. If we lose one person due to a barrier, that's too many. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next, I believe we have, and is it Miss Conway? I'm sorry, I'm not able to, your first name is Penny? Penny, oh, okay. If you guys come up, you have 5 minutes.
I'm Penny Conway. I live in Portland, which is the Slate Belt. I sit on the DNA Advisory Board. My son is 5 years clean. He's been in the justice system. He's been in your prison. He went to Recovery Revolution. He is 5+ years clean. We do need access to service. I sat in the other meeting today. I'm here now, and I think everybody just needs to sit down, Jana, Beth, maybe a mediator, and just talk this out. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, I'm kind of nervous. I wasn't expecting to speak.
No, that's all right.
But
you have plenty of time.
They are doing their job, and we cannot, the Slate Belt cannot lose Recovery Revolution, Bloom, or a clean slate.
You said you're on our Drug and Alcohol Advisory Board. How long have you been on?
My 2-year term is up the end of May, I believe. I have submitted my letter of interest, my resume, and everything to continue to serve on the board. Okay. They do wonderful things, but also from the many support group meetings that I attend and am involved in, they're making mistakes. There's some things that need to be cleared up, fixed. The system is very broken. I discovered that 5 years ago. It is improving. I'm not here to bash the system. My recommendation from talking to Beth today, knowing Jana very well, knowing that she has helped my son and so many other people in that town, is they need to sit down and talk face to face, and just this can be resolved, and everybody can walk away, and our addicts and their families will get the help and treatment that they need.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, Ms. Zirinsky.
Sorry. So this afternoon, Ms. Wondolowski had said, Jana had said that the Drug and Alcohol Advisory Council was not aware of this cutting of funds. Is that true? Was this discussed there?
We brought it up at the March meeting, at the end of the meeting.
March. Was it in December? Did you know about it in December of last year?
No.
Did you know about it prior to December of last year?
The funding?
Yes.
Funding being cut? No.
Okay.
I would say that I became aware of it 6 weeks ago.
Okay, because Ms. Wondolowski said that the funding wasn't cut, it was unused as of December and reallocated to other places where it was more useful or necessary. Were you aware of that? And is that accurate?
I can't say where that money went.
Well, it went to Bartonsville and other recovery centers.
I think what we're going to need.
I think we found that out in January, that there was a center in Bartonsville. And my first reaction when I heard that was, that's Monroe County.
Right.
This is not in Northampton County.
So this is an impediment and a barrier to treatment within the Slate Belt and Bangor specifically. And any barrier to treatment is a barrier to recovery. That's the gist, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Got it.
You cannot
Thank you.
throw obstacles at someone that's just newly in recovery.
Right.
You can't throw them obstacles. And in the jail, we're not throwing them obstacles. They're now getting a recovery specialist to hold their hand, walk them through this. This needs to be done.
Ms. Conway, because we have somebody else, and you had your question. I think part of what you're asking is we're going to have to go back again, and I just want to clarify. You said Beth, that's Beth Miller.
Yes.
for
Miller.
Drug and
Yes.
alcohol, just so we want to have that clear for the record. Thank you. Are you finished with your
And
statement?
Beth is willing to sit down and talk.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we had a meeting earlier, we heard, we're hearing this, and I realized you wouldn't have the specifics possibly of,
She was here, but she's also on this Drug and Alcohol Advisory
Right.
Board. And so my concern is that we don't actually know the timeline of the things that are happening, or the
well, she may not have been aware, the board may not have been told about the budget. I mean, an advisory
Right.
board doesn't necessarily sit down and review the budgets, they give advice. I think the question you have, though, we have to now redirect to Beth Miller.
Right.
And so
But I think we need to hear from Beth Miller, too.
I have no problem with that. So, do you have anything else?
No.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. And then we're going to go to Terry Wilson. Terry Wilson, did I get that? Hopefully.
Hi, my name is Terry Wilson, and I'm a resident, soon to not be a resident, but I'm a resident of Bangor and have been for the past 26 years. And I'm a counselor, and I have known Jana and Recovery Revolution since they started. I was working locally and was actually doing my internship at Methodist Services, and have worked then since for Recovery Revolution at Colonial Academy, and worked with teenagers there, and also was partnered with Carol to start Bloom. And so I was the program director and worked on the ground with the women at the Bloom House. And as Carol said, we had 33 women come in. And just as a member of the community and as a member of the Bloom community, the partnership that we've had locally has really strengthened our community. I've been in the community for many years, and just the addiction problem, and we all know this, is huge in Bangor with teens and adults, and as Penny said, the more barriers you put, the harder it makes for someone. Not because they want it to be that way, but because they're already at the end of their rope, right? And so not that we make it easy, but we can't put barriers. And I know just even working for Bloom, to get transportation, if we had to go to Monroe County for a woman, it was almost impossible, to find transportation. Even in county, it was difficult. And so just the partnership and I have just worked with these women for years at Recovery Revolution, and they work for the people, and that's important, and people know that, young people know that, and addicts know that, and they have a safe place to go in our community, and to send them out of the community is really making it much harder for them. So thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you. Is there anyone, I don't have anyone else signed up. Does anyone else want to address County Council under courtesy of the floor? Mr.
President, if I may, Brooke, you had asked for a contact at Atlanta, if possible. If you would reference Mr. Fred Williams at the Atlanta operations, and I'm sure he'll lend an ear to your concerns. Thank you.
All right, so let me just say this. We did hear the meeting earlier, Graysdale was discussed, and we thank you for coming. Certainly, council has heard you. Obviously, we don't administer the contracts. However, I will say that I believe, and it was always my understanding, that council is an oversight body as well as a budgetary body, and that it's something that I personally will be looking into more closely myself, and any member of council has the right to meet with anybody and ask anybody to come to a council meeting or anything else. Mr. Dietz.
I just have one quick question. How much funding do you need from now till the end of the fiscal year?
Probably about 15 to 20,000.
Now, is that on top of the 25 that Ms. Wondolowski?
That was all for continued clients. The 10 to 15 would be for new clients.
Okay.
So the 25, I thought she said, was for the school.
No.
For the clients coming from the school.
Some of the kids that we're seeing currently
You know what? Would you please come up to this podium? I mean, to answer the questions, but we're not going to. We'll do whatever question they have of you, and then we're going to move on.
My guesstimate would that be so that right now it would only be new clients. The contract that was given was for current clients only. So that $25,000 was to continue the clients that we have, but not allow any access to any new clients. And that's been spelled out numerous times in emails.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And my suggestion I'm going to throw out there for council is we have the contingency fund on county council that we've got out for projects. I think on the testimony of these, I think giving them the $15,000 out of that to at least finish the fiscal year and address this going into the next one, I would put forward a budget amendment to take that out of the contingency.
And I've had no indication that there isn't any money in drug and alcohol. It just was that we weren't able to have access to it. I don't know that for a fact. But
that's fine. Mr. Dietz is addressing that. And Mr. Dietz, what you're suggesting, and I know the members have been here, that isn't the first time. I think back in 1990, I know I got somebody angry because I appropriated X amount of dollars to a mental retardation program. And the administration was very unhappy with me, but I thought they made a very good case. So I would just say that, I mean, you've made your case, and if Mr. Dietz
for the rest of council, or someone else, I'll put that up forward for the next council meeting.
I join you on that, Mr. Dietz. I also can I ask a question?
Sure, go ahead.
Did we understand that the funding was going to run out on June 31st again?
Yes, and I had no indication that we were going to get it in July. I don't know one way or the other.
Okay, so then when would you need the next infusion of dollars?
Well, we need it now. Actually, the first client they denied was February 25th, and we have 3 in treatment right now for free. And we knew that in December 31st that we were going to be low on this funding, and we were planning ahead. So December we identified the problem. February we ran out of the continued. February is the point where they said no new clients, that's it. That only continued clients at this point.
So we bring that amendment as soon as we can.
All right, so
next meeting. Okay.
All right, thank you for your
But I'm keeping track of all the clients that there is, and we're not turning anybody away because we can't. That's not part of our mission.
all right, Ms. Hefner, go right ahead.
Are you only a not-for-profit and you only see clients based on the funding you get, or do you also accept insurance payments?
Oh, we accept private insurance. We accept medical assistance. The county is the funding of last resort. So if they're pulling that funding, there's no other access. We have to do our due diligence to make sure that they don't have any other funding. But yes, it is. We wouldn't be able to survive just on public dollars.
And what's the percentage of your clients, like insurance to funded clients?
County SCA clients are 20% of our funding. About 50% of the funding is medical assistance, and the remainder is private insurance, self-pay, a combination of that.
And you don't have to go through the county for the medical assistance
No, ma'am.
clients?
Nope, and no one, they're not being turned away at all. No.
So you're really addressing the 20% of the funding that there's a gap since December, and that your allocated funds ran out December 31st?
It actually ran out February 25th.
February 25th.
I identified the need in December.
And what was your contract for last year?
$51,000 for treatment specifically. $51,000 was for the full year. We did get everybody got increases, so they knew that the other contracts there was going to need to be more money. But it's $51,000, and they just raised it to assist the current clients in there.
And that's just for the treatment program, not the school program? Or is the 50 split?
All of it. They don't fund the school program solely. They only fund for clients that don't have access to other funding.
Okay.
So.
And you're only in the Bangor schools, or are you in other districts?
No, Easton School District, Easton Area Academy, Colonial Academy, Wilson. And we've been in those schools since 2006. But we haven't turned anybody away at this moment due to this funding. We just don't know how long we can continue this.
So you've got 51, they're giving you 25, and you need an additional 15, 20 on top of the 25? Is that what you said?
That's a guesstimate, yeah. Mm-hmm.
But did you ask for 100 last year in your RFP?
I honestly don't recall what I asked. I was always told that if we needed more money for treatment, we would get it, and that it should go to treatment first.
And how many years have you complied with the RFP process?
15.
Okay. So you have already submitted, or you're resubmitting for July?
Actually, I didn't know until I've gotten emails for 15 years that the RFP came out. I did not receive an email this year. I went online on February, and it wasn't updated online. I learned at this meeting today that the RFP process was due on Friday. It's always been April 30th. It's always been the end of April. That's what my recollection is. I didn't know today until that the RFP process was over. I have emails from last 15 years telling me this is when you do it. They actually give you 30 days via email for anyone that has a contract. I just was never received any notification about that. So now I'm behind the 8 ball on the RFP process because I wasn't aware that it existed for this year. I knew it was coming, but I had planned and for the end of April.
Did that answer your questions?
Yes, thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I appreciate your time.
All right. I would just say, I know, but one thing I would suggest is maybe we would like to ask or send a memo to Ms. Wondolowski, see if in fact there's money in their budget that they would be willing to move before you go to the contingent. Before we go. But I mean, I understand, and it's been done. You're not stepping into new territory there if you end up pursuing that. But that would just be my recommendation. You might want to address the memo to her. I mean, we take it out of the contingency, do a budget amendment. We have every right to do it as much as the administration does. So, okay. Anything else? I think we covered that. All right. Now there is no county executive report because he gave it earlier because he is at the Iron Pigs game and possibly doing a Baba Booey first pitch.
I knew you were going to say that.
And anyway, that's what he's hoping. We'll see how. I want to watch the video on his pitch. But
I can't explain.
All right.
You have to know.
So you don't have anything you want to say, Mr. Dertinger, do you? I do not at this time. In lieu of the. Glad to hear that.
How come you're
All right.
not at the baseball game, huh?
Old business. Old business. All right. Public hearing on the ordinance removing 2 members from the Graysdale Advisory Board. This was introduced by Ms. Vargo Hefner and Mr. Dietz at our March 21st, 19th meeting. And now we will have discussion and possibly a vote. Is there any discussion? We've dealt with this a few times now. All right. If there is no discussion, Ms. Zembo, would you call the roll?
Ms. Fargo Hefner.
Yes.
Mr. Dietz.
Yes.
Mrs. Ferraro.
Yes.
Mr. Heckman.
Yes.
Mr. Lott.
Yes.
Mr. McGee.
Yes.
Mr. Warner.
Yes.
Ms. Zirinsky.
Yes.
And Mr. Kuzic.
Yes.
Adopted by a vote of 9-0.
Thank you. All right, second is the public hearing on the ordinance entitled, An Ordinance of the County Council of Northampton County authorizing the purchase of 8.7 acres of real property by the County of Northampton and Plainfield Township, Pennsylvania, from Anthony P. Curcio and Thomas M. Curcio and Richard J. Curcio. This was introduced. This was introduced by Ms. Zirinsky and Mr. McGee at the March 21st, 19 meeting. It's now open to discussion and a possible vote. Is there any discussion? Anybody want to say anything? We've discussed many of these things before. Seeing nothing, call for the vote.
Ms. Zirinsky.
Yes.
Mr. McGee.
Yes.
Mr. Heckman.
Yes.
Mr. Lott.
Yes.
Ms. Fargo Hefner.
Yes.
Mr. Warner.
Yes.
Mr. Kuzic.
Yes.
Mr. Dietz.
Yes.
Mrs. Ferraro.
Yes.
Passes by a vote of 9-0.
Thank you. Next, we have public hearing on the ordinance entitled, An Ordinance Reaffirming and Ratifying the County of Northampton's Participation in the Pennsylvania County's Risk Pool and the Execution of the Intergovernmental Agreement pursuant to the Pennsylvania Intergovernmental Cooperation Law as amended. This was introduced by Ms. Vargo Hefner and Mr. Kusick at the March 21st meeting. And now there is discussion. There is any? We've discussed all of these things. Seeing none, I'll call for the vote.
Ms. Fargo Hefner.
Yes.
Mr. Kuzic.
Yes.
Mr. Lott.
Yes.
Mr. McGee.
Yes.
Mr. Warner.
Yes.
Ms. Zirinsky.
Yes.
Mr. Dietz.
Yes.
Mrs. Ferraro.
Yes.
Mr. Heckman.
Yes.
Adopted by a vote of 9-0.
It's an excellent program. Okay. Is there any other old business anyone wants to discuss? Old, seasoned. Seeing none? New business. Introduction of an ordinance amending the 2019 Northampton County budget. Is there someone who would sponsor the ordinance?
I will.
Ms. Vargo Hefner, is there a second? Mr. McGee? All right, the public hearing, debate, and possible vote will be held at our April 18th meeting. Second, consideration of the Pennsylvania DCNR grant application, the Archibald Johnston Conservation Area, Benocracy Creek Restoration Program resolution. Ms. Zirinsky, will you introduce this?
Sure. Now,
Oh, no, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
you ready?
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
ready.
Now, therefore, it is resolved that, one, the signature page for grant agreement may be signed on behalf of the applicant by the official who, at the time of signing, has the title of Northampton County Executive. If this official signed the signature page for grant agreement prior to the passage of this resolution, this grant of authority applies retroactively to the date of signing. 3, if the applicant is awarded grant, the signature page for grant agreement signed by the above official will become the applicant grantee's executed signature page for the grant agreement, and the applicant/grantee will be bound by the grant agreement. Any amendment to the grant agreement may be signed on behalf of the grantee by the official who, at the time of signing of the amendment, has the title specified in paragraph 1, and the grantee will be bound by the amendment.
Thank you very much. Is there any discussion?
I just have a question. How much are we requesting in the amount of the grant, and why isn't it included as part of the resolution?
My understanding is that this is just about the signatures on the grant. We haven't actually requested.
Do we have anyone from the administration who could possibly answer this perplexing question?
This and the other are two grants that we found sort of late in the game, and we're trying to leverage what we can from that. So at this point, we don't have a solid number on that as to what we can expect to be permitted to apply for. When we do, we'll provide council with that information.
But you're not expending, and we're not talking about any county funds
No,
being matched.
no,
So
this
is
is
pure grant.
Yes.
It's not matching or anything. We're just asking for money.
All right.
We have
Yeah,
our
Mr.
handout.
Kusick, so, you have a problem with that?
I don't have a problem with asking somebody for money.
Yeah.
I guess that it just wasn't clear to me how much. Usually when we make grant applications,
Sure.
and when people apply for grants from us, there is a specific dollar amount. I mean, this is a good program, I support it, but typically as part of a grant process, there is a dollar amount attached to the application. That was what I was surprised, and that's why I asked the question.
Yeah, it was a late developing situation, so we're trying to get this in under a deadline. That's the only reason we asked to have this added on.
Okay.
When you find out if
We will
you get
certainly
it, can you
convey
send
to
it
you.
along to us?
Most certainly.
It's a blank check.
All right. Are there any other questions or discussion on this? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote.
Ms. Zirinsky.
Yes.
Mr. McGee.
Yes.
Ms. Fargo Hefner.
Yes.
Mr. Warner.
Yes.
Mr. Kuzic.
Yes.
Mr. Dietz.
Yes.
Mrs. Ferraro.
Yes.
Mr. Hager.
Yes.
Mr. Locke.
Yes.
Adopted by a vote of 9-0.
Hopefully, it's a lot
You're
of money.
going to love this one now.
We're going to find out.
Okay, next we have the consideration of the Pennsylvania DCNR grant application.
No,
The one-
the next one.
What? The Wahittuck
This is the
County
backyard,
Park
right?
This is your area.
Rehabilitation and Improvements Project Resolution. Ms. Zirinsky?
It just seems so similar.
Yeah.
Well, you can just
It
do the
is.
last paragraph.
It's a boilerplate.
Yeah, now therefore it's resolved that the signature page for the grant agreement may be signed on behalf of the applicant by the official who, at the time of signing, has the title of Northampton County Executive.
It's fine. Okay.
Same
I think we
thing.
should question this.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Are there any other, is there any discussion?
Do you want to know how much this one is, too?
I think
put your hand out.
We want to note Mr. Kusick's
Are we again
concern.
asking for a blank check from the state of Pennsylvania DCNR? I mean, I support, again, I also support this project.
Support the
but
blank check.
That
It's just-
is exactly why I said earlier that this, like the following one, will be the same. We are not essentially certain of what we're entitled to request. So while we're working that out, we wanted to make sure that we would be able to request that money once those numbers came back to us. This is something that came to us late in the game, that was kind of found as it was coming up to, I think it's, I'm not exactly sure when it's due, but it would be due before the next council meeting. So we wanted to make sure we had permission to ask for this money. So not so much a blank check as much as a blank request. If the state would provide us with a blank check, I think we would all be very happy. I just don't see that happening.
We just put a lot of
This is-
zeros
this is-
right after that.
Yeah.
Right, and, you know, I understand. Sometimes you get an email or a call from a state rep or state senator saying,
This money is
"Th-
available.
This money is
Apply."
available, do you have something right now?" And it has to, you know, be done right away.
And that's where we are, and that's why we're
And-
asking permission from council,
Yeah.
your ascendancy to.
And like the previous one, there's no match requirement.
It's the same situation.
Well,
I
that's
think this
fine.
is something that Bob Freeman had written a letter to us about. I don't know if you got that one. I did. Okay.
I don't recall.
Is there any more discussion on this?
No, we're good.
Are we?
I'm good.
Okay, thank you. Seeing none, call for the vote.
Ms. Zirinsky.
Yes.
Ms. Fargo Hefner.
Yes.
Mr. Warner.
Yeah.
Mr. Kuzic.
Yes.
Mr. Deep.
Yes.
Mrs. Farrar.
Yes.
Mr. Heckman.
Yes.
Mr. Lot.
Yes.
Mr. McKay.
Yes.
Adopted by a vote of 9-0.
Thank you. Is there any other new business anyone wants to discuss? Any new business? Seeing none, council committee reports. Are there any council committee reports?
I have mine.
Ms. Vargo Hefner?
We held the Human Services meeting before this meeting this evening, and the next meeting will be Thursday, May 2nd at 3:30 p.m.
Thank you. Any other committee reports?
Farmland Preservation didn't have one today.
Economic
Go
Development
ahead.
met early, right after the Human Services today. And we had the folks doing a county study on the historical proactive move. It's a grant-funded project, and you can watch the video if you. It's pretty impressive. They're going to be working with actually, there's a whole team of people working together. You got the blight study, you got the historical study, and they're kind of working with the Lehigh Valley Planning Commission all at one big hub. So there's like two big studies going on right now in Northampton County.
Sounded pretty cool.
Yep.
No other council committee reports, liaison reports?
Sorry. No, Farmland did not have a meeting this month.
To reporting that there was no.
I'm reporting that there was no meeting.
Okay.
The farmers are out planting or something like that right now.
Are there any liaison reports for anybody that had a liaison report?
GPA met this week, and let me see if I have the right numbers. 3 bridges are fully done, 4 are almost done. They're, what's the word? Substantially completed. I guess they're waiting for the final SIG on PennDOT. 1 bridge is 2/3 done. That's bridge number 143, and bridge 63 is expected to be started in 2 weeks.
Thank you. Oh, and more?
Yeah, the only thing I would say is that we asked a question about how come there's delays sometimes on these things, and I guess, and on the closing, and there's an 89-day waiting period for the DEP to actually, so that's, time waits for no one or bridges, so that's it.
Any other, Ms.
I
Zirinsky?
forgot that I had a committee report.
Oh, so you
from
can find.
Energy, Environment, and Land Use from CCAP. So we had discussed going to see the Secretary of the DEP, Patrick McGonigal, and 5 of us were chosen to do that. I was one of the 5 people who went and discussed energy, recycling, and transportation. So I'm having a meeting with Owen O'Neill about future electric transportation for Atlanta. We talked about different uses of solar and some grants that might be able to come to the area. We talked about CPACE, which we had a presentation on, and we talked about the recycling programs here across the state, actually, and what we might have to do to amend the single stream recycling and our plastic use, as we do not have any place to put our plastic right now, which is why reducing our plastic, and especially single-use plastic, is so important.
Did you put the box of stuff out?
I didn't, but I was so happy it was there.
Yeah, I took one. So. All right.
Good.
Well, it sounds like you had a good time.
It was a great time.
All right, so we'll move on. Are there any council clerk reports?
Nothing.
Thank you. Solicitor?
No.
Thank you. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
There you go.
Second. Favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned.
Good times.